There is a version of you that has never been afraid, a version of you that does not shrink in certain rooms, does not perform for certain people, does not lie awake at 3 in the morning wondering if you are enough. Carl Jung spent his entire career trying to help people find that version of themselves, and what he discovered might surprise you, because the path to becoming your truest self is not about adding anything. It is about letting go of almost everything you think you are. This is not a self-improvement video. This is something more uncomfortable than that, because what Jung found is that most of us are not living our actual lives. We are living a constructed version of a life, built from other people's expectations, unprocessed pain, and a desperate need to be accepted. And until you release the specific things Jung identified, you will keep circling the same patterns, the same relationships, the same quiet desperation, wondering why nothing ever fundamentally changes. So let us talk about what you actually need to release, starting with the thing that is costing you the most right now. The first thing you must release is the persona. Jung gave this concept a specific name because he understood how seriously we underestimate its grip on us. The persona is the mask you built to survive. Maybe you became the responsible one, the funny one, the agreeable one, the one who never causes problems. You built this identity because it worked. People accepted you. You felt safe. But here is the thing Jung kept pointing out. The mask is not you, and the longer you wear it, the more you forget what your actual face looks like. Here is where it gets psychologically fascinating. Most people do not feel like they are wearing a mask. They genuinely believe the performance is the reality. A man who has spent 30 years being stoic and unshakable does not think he is performing stoicism. He thinks that is just who he is. A woman who has spent decades being endlessly accommodating does not think she is suppressing her needs. She thinks she just naturally prefers harmony. This is how deep the persona goes. It does not feel like a costume. It feels like skin. Releasing the persona does not mean becoming a different person. It means becoming curious about where your current personality actually came from. Who taught you to be this way? What were you afraid would happen if you were different? These are not comfortable questions, but they are the questions that crack the mask open. The second thing you must release is your shadow, and this one is harder. The shadow in Jung's framework is everything about yourself that you have decided is unacceptable. Your anger, your jealousy, your ambition, your desire, your fear, your laziness, the parts of you that do not fit the persona you built. So what did you do with those parts? You buried them, you denied them, you projected them onto other people. Pay attention to this next part because it explains so much of human behavior. When you refuse to acknowledge something in yourself, it does not disappear. It goes underground, and then it starts running the show from below the surface. The person who insists they are never angry has rage leaking out through passive aggression and sarcasm. The person who claims they have no ego is obsessed with being seen as humble. The parts we reject do not go away. They just get sneaky. And projection is where it gets really revealing. Jung noticed that the qualities we most intensely dislike in other people are usually the qualities we most intensely refuse to see in ourselves. That colleague who irritates you with their arrogance. Take a breath. Where does arrogance live in you? That person whose neediness makes you uncomfortable. Where are you hiding your own needs? This is not about self-blame. It is about self-recognition. Integrating the shadow does not mean acting on every dark impulse. It means acknowledging those impulses as yours, owning them, understanding them. When you stop fighting what is real inside you, a strange thing happens. You stop being controlled by it. The third release is the most counterintuitive of all. You must release the false self that was constructed through your wounds. Jung called this one of the central tasks of what he named individuation, the lifelong process of becoming a whole, authentic person. And here is what makes this so difficult. The self built from wounds often feels like your most authentic self, Because it formed in response to real experiences. It formed in pain, it feels earned. Think about it this way. If you experienced early abandonment, you might have built an identity around needing nothing from anyone. That independence feels real. It feels like you. But it is actually a scar tissue identity, a strategy that formed in response to loss. The real you underneath that has needs, has wants, has a hunger for genuine connection. But the wounded self convinced you that showing those things means getting hurt again. Or maybe you experienced early criticism and you built an identity around perfectionism and overachievement. Every success feels like proof of your worth. Every failure feels like confirmation of your deepest fear. The wounded self is exhausting to live in, but releasing it feels terrifying because if you are not your accomplishments, who are you? This is exactly the question Jung wanted you to sit with. Who are you underneath the survival strategies? Underneath the coping mechanisms? Underneath the stories you have been telling about yourself since childhood? That is where your actual self lives. Not above the wounds, not despite them, but underneath them. The fourth release is unconscious loyalty. This is a concept that does not get talked about enough, but it explains why intelligent, self-aware people keep repeating patterns they consciously hate. Unconscious loyalty means staying connected to the people you love, particularly your parents or early caregivers, by unconsciously replicating their emotional patterns, their limitations, their struggles. Because on some primal level, the psyche interprets breaking those patterns as a kind of betrayal. If your mother was anxious, you may unconsciously create anxiety in your own life. Not because anxiety serves you, but because it keeps you connected to her in a fundamental way. If your father believed that life was a struggle and that success was not for people like you, you may unconsciously self-sabotage at the threshold of success, not because you want to fail, but because succeeding would mean becoming someone he never was, and that feels like abandonment. Releasing unconscious loyalty does not mean rejecting the people you love. It means giving yourself permission to have a different life than the one you were shown. It means understanding that outgrowing old patterns is not betrayal. It is actually the most honest thing you can do for yourself and ultimately for the people you care about. The fifth and final release is perhaps the deepest one. You must release the story that consciousness is the whole picture. Jung spent his life studying the unconscious precisely because he believed that what we are not aware of runs our lives. The thoughts we have not thought, the feelings we have not felt, the memories we have not processed, these do not sit quietly in a drawer somewhere. They operate, they influence decisions, they attract specific situations and relationships into our lives in ways that seem like coincidence, but are actually the psyche seeking completion. This is why talk therapy alone sometimes falls short. You can understand something intellectually and still be completely controlled by it emotionally. True release requires going beneath the story. It requires sitting with what is there before the explanation. The grief under the anger, the fear under the arrogance, the love under the detachment. Jung believed this kind of deep psychological honesty is what he called the beginning of genuine spiritual life. Not religion, not ritual, but the radical courage to look at what is actually happening inside you without flinching. So what does all of this actually look like in practice? It looks like noticing when you are performing rather than being. It looks like getting curious about the people who irritate you most. It looks like asking yourself where your coping mechanisms came from and whether they are still serving you. It looks like letting yourself want things, feel things, need things, without immediately constructing a reason why that is inappropriate or dangerous. It looks like sitting with the question Jung believed was the most important question a human being could ask. What is it in me that I have not yet faced? The path to your true self is not out there. It is not in a new relationship, a new city, a new identity, or a better version of the mask you are already wearing. It is in. It is down. It is through everything you have been trained to ignore about yourself. Jung believed that the most terrifying journey a person can take is inward, but he also believed it is the only journey that actually leads somewhere real. The self you are trying to build on the surface will always collapse. But the self that emerges when you stop running from your own depths, that one is unshakable. That one has always been there waiting for you to stop looking everywhere else. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is whether you are finally willing.